Well, good morning. Tuesday, February 21st, 2017. This is a special edition on I-24 News. Breaking news this morning on the Hebron shooter story that has been captivating as well as dividing the Israeli society for at least a year. A sentencing handed down just half an hour ago in the Azarya trial. The Israeli defense soldier, IDF soldier, who shot a Palestinian assailant point blank a year ago, breaking with Israeli military code of conduct. It has been a controversial case from the start that was sparked by phone footage shot in Hebron on the day of the incident, showing Azarya shooting the Palestinian assailant who tried to perpetrate a knife attack on soldiers in Hebron, but who was already neutralized and incapacitated when Azarya shot him point blank. We're looking at live footage right now outside of that courthouse where that sentencing was handed down just half an hour ago, a sentencing that everybody was worried would divide or continue the division within the Israeli public. Let's go straight to the scene where we're joined by I-24 News' Tracy Alexander. Tracy, good morning to you. You're standing out there amidst the demonstrators. Some of them have been coming over to that courthouse for the past year. What was the reaction of people outside that courthouse when the sentencing was handed down, when they found out about it?
Well, yeah, it was outrage. They say it's not over yet. This is just a taste of what we might expect to see coming. We know that when the manslaughter sentence was handed down, protesters clashed out here. There were violent clashes. Several people were arrested. Today, it hasn't been the same kind of scene. There's been ebbs and flows. Earlier, when I crossed into your show, we had people trying to hijack my microphone. A lot of people want their voices to get heard. They believe he should be walking free. You have to understand that this is a case where we've had an assailant or a would-be murderer who's been transformed within minutes into a victim, and then we have a soldier or a medic, in fact, who's been transformed in a matter of minutes into a convicted criminal. So it's divided the population. We've seen, in anticipation for a protest like this, they expected there to be rowdy outbreaks. We have barricades preventing people from leaving the protest and crossing the road. It's lined with security officers. We have people holding signs saying death to terrorists. We heard earlier it sounded like happy music that you would hear in a circus, but the lyrics were saying that he who comes to kill you, kill him first. They believe this man was a terrorist, and in combat scenarios that the rules should be different. They don't want to see him sentenced at all, Yael.
They don't want to see him sentenced at all. Are there calls out there, Tracy, of people saying that unless there's a pardon, that this will continue? What are they expecting?
They absolutely are saying that, and we know that there's one person in power that's able to hand down that pardon. That's President Reuven Rivlin. In the past, we've seen people protest outside of his house. 2 people have been arrested in the past for inciting violence against him and against the 3 judges in charge of this case. We know they were saying to President Reuven Rivlin that Yitzhak Rabin perhaps needs a friend. That's obviously incitement. We know that Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated at Tel Aviv's Rabin Square, where we also saw thousands of protesters gather when he was sentenced to manslaughter, rather convicted of manslaughter on the 4th of January. So, as they said, it's not over. We're yet to see more protests just like this one.
Like this one. Tracy Alexander joining us from outside that courthouse where demonstrations were being carried out for the last year in favor of a pardon for Azarya. With me in studio, as we said before, I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Eli Hochenberg. Hello to you. Retired Army General Israel Relic Shafir. And with us also Lieutenant Colonel retired Avital Leibovich. And I want to ask you, Avital, to start off, how is the international community looking at this? Before we discuss the Geneva Convention, codes of conducts of what we call, so to speak, democratic militaries and whatnot. 18 months, how will that be viewed by the international community, in your opinion?
The international community, when it's looking at the IDF and at Israel in large, is always looking to find the similar values between us and them. And here, this is a critical matter, especially in this sentence, in this ruling, because the IDF has a very strict moral ethic. And if the
known as the sanctity of the gun, one could say.
Of course, the
right.
purity of the arms and so on. So I'm sure that the preference of the international community is to see this sentence. Although it's lenient, I agree it's lenient, but nevertheless, it was a strict sentence. As for the Palestinians, by the way, because we did hear another comment before, I'm quite surprised, I have to say, because it does feel like a propaganda in a way, because at the end of the day, what they're doing in their formal responses is eliminating the fact we're talking about a terrorist who wanted to stab and kill people and going to something else altogether, some sort of a deviation from the real thing. So overall, I think the international community would be highly supportive.
That there was a sentencing of some sort of jail prison time to begin with at all.
Right. My concern, though, is the political infiltration here. And I think we are in a dangerous situation. The army could not be infiltrated from different sides of the political map. This is a mistake, and I think it should be stopped on the government level.
Then really a quick question to you again, Relic, and my retired General Shafir. When it comes to, you shook your head and you said you gestured to me throughout the broadcast from outside that courthouse that everything will be okay. Why?
150 people who came to protest. It's not that they don't have supporters who think likewise, but I think most people, when they take the world view of pros and cons, understand that the basic human or Jewish value of do unto others as they would do to you is so basic to our culture and society, because yesterday we had no strength and people supported us when we were in a weak position. And so this is part of who we are. We're looking for justice. We're looking to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. And in this particular case, think of all the POWs that we had over the other side who were treated by the military in a rather respectful way. And so in this game, once you're up, once you're down, and you never know where you're going to find yourself tomorrow. So I think from that point of view, it's a basic understanding that the verdict was right. The sentencing was a little lenient, but it's still there.
It's still there. Sentencing was done. And the question is, you said, what does the other side think? Maybe this is the time to go straight to Hebron, where we're joined via Skype, I believe, by Issa Amram, a human rights activist in Hebron. Mr. Amram, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. I am assuming you've already heard also about the sentencing that was handed down to the IDF soldier, Laura Azarya, over the killing of the assailant a year ago in Hebron. Reactions in Hebron by the Palestinian community. First of all, what do you think about the sentencing?
You know, I think that, the occupation and the court are, let's say, working in parallel. I think that it's a kind of evidence of what Palestinians are saying, that there is no justice in Israel. There is no justice under the occupation. 18 months means that, he may, spend it in a welfare life. He's a hero in Israel. He's well supported. We should talk about making the occupation accountable.
Yeah, but Mr. Amram, he's not necessarily considered a hero in Israel. There was a split in the middle, a very divided country over this case in that respect. I'm just have to say.
No, it was not that split. I saw that 67% of the Israeli public were supporting not to investigate him.
Right.
Israeli political leaders, among them the education minister, was against making him accountable. They consider him a hero. 18 months is not something for killing a Palestinian who's disabled. It's an evidence that
Mr.
there is no
Mr. Amram,
justice.
if you can stay with us, we have to take a break. We'll be right back.